your feet, Lord Jesus. In your presence there is fullness of joy. There is nothing, there is no one who compares with you. I take pleasure in worshiping. I take pleasure in worshiping. I take pleasure in worshiping. Just stay there. I take pleasure in worshiping. I take pleasure in worshiping. I find pleasure in worshiping. I take 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 pleasure in joining the heavens. I take pleasure in worshiping. I take pleasure in living for you. I take pleasure in being called a Christian. Hey, I take pleasure in following you, following you. I take pleasure in worshiping. I take pleasure in loving you. I take pleasure. I take pleasure. Take your pleasure. Show him how you take pleasure. Tell him how you take pleasure. I take pleasure in reading my Bible. I take pleasure in spending time with you. I take pleasure in talking about you. I take pleasure in spending time with you. I take pleasure. I take pleasure. It is my pleasure. This is my lifestyle. This is where I want to be. This is where I love to be. Lord, I take pleasure. Lord, I take pleasure. I take pleasure when I'm on the mountain. And I take pleasure even in the valley, Lord. I take pleasure in worshiping. I take pleasure because worship is my lifestyle. Worship is my lifestyle. It is what I do every day. It is what I do every day. From when I wake up in the morning, Lord, I take pleasure. 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 Even on Mondays. And I take pleasure all through Tuesday. I take pleasure in staying with you. I take pleasure in living for you. I take pleasure is where you find down on my knees, down on my knees, down on my knees. I take pleasure when I'm in the public, and I still take pleasure even in the private. I take pleasure in worshiping you, Lord. You would not need to seek us, God, for this is the generation that seeks your face. This is the generation that yearns for your heart. These are the remnant men la kumie no kupilia kopaya na kusate that lay our lives before you and say, here we are. Here we will always be. It's not always pleasant. It doesn't always make sense to us. We don't always understand. We don't always understand it. But he says, just follow me. Just stay with me. You are my temple. Give me your life as my offering. Give me your life as the offering. It is you that I want. He says, trust me. For someone here that is wondering, God, it's been a certain way. And he says, trust me. He says, trust me. I take pleasure. I take pleasure. Your presence is my pleasure. Your presence is my pleasure.